Getting Unstuck. This is one of our job webinars that we have created for people that have problems with their careers or with anything in life. And we are glad that you're joining us. I'm Terry Della Vecchia. This is Tom Chaplin, and he's going to tell you what Getting Unstuck is about.
Yeah, it's a great topic. It takes me back to when I was in coaching school, however many years ago that was. But I remember one of the trainers saying that it's the number one reason people come to coaching is because they feel stuck. And then, of course, I experienced that when I first started coaching. Well, even now, I mean, it never goes away. People say, I feel stuck. And of course, we've all been there. It's all, we all know what that feels like, and it's not a great place to be. So what we want to do in this webinar is help you to recognize where you're getting stuck and give you some tools so that you can get out of your stuckness and start moving again, get into action mode and move forward.
Yeah, I love that word, unstuckness. We make up words when we need them to make a point.
We do.
And it's I'm okay with it. The funny thing is, I have a form for my free conference calls that I always send somebody to understand where they are before we have a chat. And I'd say 75% of the time, somewhere on that form is, what anything that's changed in your life or whatever. And somewhere on that form, the potential client writes, I'm stuck in blah, blah, blah. I can't do this because I'm stuck, or I can't get past making a decision because I'm stuck. You are absolutely right. It is one of the number one reasons people come to coaching. But we can help them with that, can't we, Tom?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes it a great topic. So what is all this about? That's what we want to talk about. So we're really going to tell you everything that we possibly can, the who's, the where's, the whens, the hows. Why do we get stuck and how do you get unstuck? That's the most important thing that people want to know. And, of course, things like who gets stuck, we all get stuck. We all get stuck.
Yeah. In
all areas of life. So what we're going to do is give you the 4 reasons why we get stuck. And then we're going to, at the end of this webinar, we're going to give you the 7 action steps that you can use on yourself. You can work with a friend or a family member, and it's a way to help you get unstuck and get into action mode again.
Yeah, we'll also give you a model that you can try, when you're stuck, for how to get past where you are. So you'll have a couple of ways to get unstuck.
So by the end of this webinar, there's no excuse for remaining stuck. Going to get you into action. So Tony Robbins, one of his famous quotes is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And of course, that's so true. Nobody would argue with that. But the question everybody has is, what do I do? How do I take that first step to get myself into action?
Yeah, it's the banging your head against the wall and wondering why your head hurts, and you keep taking aspirin, but guess what? Unless you stop banging your head against the wall, all the aspirin in the world isn't going to help. You're stuck. You're stuck in an endless loop. You're in a rut, whatever it is. It's making you think differently to get out of where you are.
Right, exactly. And then to kind of really piggyback on that, Maya Angelou says, if you don't like your situation, change it. And so, that helps. That helps. Yeah. That gives us the second piece of the puzzle there. So you obviously, this is about action. So if you don't like your situation, take action, do something about it. And that's usually what brings people to coaching is, I don't know what to do. What do I do next?
Right. And sometimes people are just afraid to take that first step because they feel it's a risk. But if you take the step, all you need is that first step to move forward. And then And asking for help can be that step. So if you're here watching this, that's your first step. And kudos for that.
Yeah, give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing something. You're doing more than what a lot of people do,
Correct.
which is nothing. So, you know, you're moving forward. So if we were to define stuck, we could write it in as an equation where stuck equals there's a desire, you know, you have a desire to make a change, to do something, to get out of your situation, even though you're not sure yet where you want to go. You just know that there's a desire. And then you combine that with no action, and that's what gets you stuck. That's what creates that feeling of being stuck. You know, you want something, but you're not doing anything about it. So if we, and the key is, if we don't grow, we don't change. Everything
Correct.
stays the same.
Yeah, if you're not moving, you're stuck. Your journey doesn't always go in a straight line. And sometimes you have to go back in order to go forward, or you make a right turn, you know, maybe it's a lateral move or whatever it is, but you're moving in the direction that you ultimately want to go. And it's okay because you're moving.
Right, exactly. That's really what's so
That's the
important.
key.
Yeah, it's just, you know, a lot of times it doesn't matter, but you know, making a change just to kind of get that energy going again.
It gets that motion.
Yeah, yeah. And you feel better. As soon as you are taking action, you're feeling better. Even if it's, you know, something like updating your resume. You know, you don't know what's next, but okay, let me start working on my resume. Let me make a list of all the things that I've accomplished here that I can, you know, that I can add to my briefcase. So we can really break this sensation of feeling stuck down into three categories. You have level one, which is more of it's kind of a easier form of being stuck. It's very minor. You know, it's really not like you need to ask for help. You may just want to talk to a friend to get some feedback, or you just need to vent. But a lot of times it's just, you know, you're not quite ready to make a decision yet, to take action, and you're just feeling stuck in the meantime. But you'll take action when you're ready. So usually that's not such a big deal. It's bigger things, you know, when we start feeling overwhelmed. You know, it's like you know you want to leave your job, you know you don't like it anymore, but how do you do that? How, you know, there's so many variables that come into play here, and everybody has their own story around it. Everybody. So when, you know, when somebody, and you know, what I would say at this point is think about what your story is. You know, what story are you telling other people or telling yourself about why you're still where you are, or why you haven't made a change? You know, there's that story is so powerful in helping to keep us stuck. And and this is usually where I think Terry and I get, you know, see clients. You know, it's in this level two. You know, it's, you know, these are the people who come, they're stuck, and we understand, and we want to help you, and we help you get over the hurdle. But in level three, it's usually a little bit more advanced. You know, you didn't do anything about it when you were in level two, so now it's progressed to level three, or the situation has intensified. So you're, you know, again, if you think of the story you're telling yourself, sometimes that story becomes so real to you that it's hard to see anything else as a possibility. And then along with that story comes negativity. So it's, you know, it becomes a powerful mechanism that keeps you from making any kind of changes, because you know, whatever the story is.
Yeah, what I call it is, when you're tied, the story is, there's a truth with a capital T, which is reality, and then there's your truth, which is a little t, which is not necessarily reality. It's what you believe. And sometimes you get so tied to that story that you don't see outside anything. It's like you've got blinders on. You know, if you're wearing rose-colored glasses, it doesn't mean when you're looking through those glasses that the world is really pink. It's not. The world is not pink, but if you take the glasses off, you see that. And sometimes you get so tied to your story that you see it as absolute truth. It is reality, but it's your reality, not the real reality. And you get very negative. So if you start looking at it a little differently, and that's what coaching does, we ask you different questions. You change your thoughts. It changes your action. It makes you see things a little bit broader. So the blinders come off and you realize how you were stuck with that story. And that's what we help you get through with some of the things towards the end.
Right, right. And, you know, just to give you an example of someone who may be stuck at level 3, I had a client, and this is when I first started coaching. I had a client who I started working with, and she did not like her job. It was very hard. It was very frustrating, and she wanted to make a change. So I thought, okay, perfect client. You know, let's you know, start working together and, you know, find you a new job. But what I discovered was that she was so dissatisfied with her job. And usually I like to give people a few minutes to vent in the beginning of a coaching session, because you know, we all need that occasionally. So, you know, if you need to vent, then you have 5 minutes. But what happened with her was she could not let go. She could not stop venting. And so it became, the entire coaching session was then wrapped around, well, of course it wasn't a coaching session because you can't really coach with that, but she needed to vent the entire time. She was so angry and so upset with her job, and she had she could describe every situation to justify her rationale. Every single thing had a story attached to it. And it was, you know, that it becomes very difficult to break through that story. It's
because she's sunk in the depths of it. She's like in this, you know, mud pit, and she can't climb out, and she doesn't even see a way to climb out.
So I guess the bottom line here is, do something about this before you get to level 3. Not everybody's going to progress to level 3, of course.
Correct.
You know, I think that's unusual. It's not it's not the trend. It's not what happens to everybody if you don't do anything. But yeah, definitely you owe it to yourself.
Right. But even if you get to level 3, there is help. The problem is when you get to level 3, you are so you don't see the positive in anything. You know, you're bringing your work home, you know, whatever the problem happens to be. Now, obviously our whole thing is, you know, is job workshops. So it is more about career, but it can be about anything. And if you aren't asking for help or trying to do something, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse until you can't see the forest through the trees. It's just ugly. It's ugliness, and you're living ugliness, and that's no place to be.
Totally agree. Yeah. So there are 4 reasons why everyone gets stuck. So we're going to give you those 4 reasons now. And
yeah,
so you're up.
Yep, I am. So everyone wants to stay in their comfort zone. It's a safe place to be. It's familiar. You know what your expectations are. So you've had, you know, let's say it's been a job that you've been in for 5 years. It's comfortable. You know what the boss wants of you. You know what you are capable of doing. Now, in some of those cases, the reason you're not happy is because maybe there was no chance for growth, or management changed and you don't like the people you work with anymore, or the business or something, but it is comfortable. And it's tough to walk away from comfort, even if you're miserable. But that's the risk you've got to take, because you might be comfortable in that little niche, but you don't like what you do, so you're miserable anyway. So what good is it? So you have to form new habits and change behavior. I know you don't want to get out of your comfort zone, but if you don't, you're not going to grow. You're not going to succeed in something different or like what you do or get past the negativity. So sometimes you got to stick that toe in the water and feel whether it's warm enough or not and just move on.
Right. Yeah. And I think an interesting example of that is that you know how you get you become intimately acquainted with a software application so that you
Oh,
can
yeah.
use it really, really, really well, but it has all these issues, all these problems, but you've learned to work around them. You've learned to make it work for you. And
By
then
the way, just so that you all know, out there and on your couches watching this, Tom and I both come from an information technology background, so I am intimately aware of what he's talking about.
yeah, right, we both do. But you and then the application, they have an upgrade and everything has changed. They fixed everything. And it's like suddenly you're no longer in your comfort zone because you have to learn all this again. It's a little bit like that. I think, it's sort of like the devil is sometimes
Mhm.
better than what you don't know. At least that's the way, the kind of what I think what comes up for us on a deeper level, which is why we don't make changes. But
Yeah,
Shonda Rhimes wrote the book of Yes. And among many other things, she was the creator of but
lots
Grey's
of TV
Anatomy.
shows.
Yeah, a
Yep.
lot of TV shows, How to Get Away with Murder. She's a very, very, very successful career. And yet, here she was, she didn't realize it, but she was stuck in her comfort zone. And it wasn't until her sister challenged her, made a bet with her to stop saying no to everything, no to things like appearing on the Tonight Show, no to giving a commencement address, and doing a TED Talk and attending award ceremonies where she was, she would was always being presented with some sort of an award, but she never wanted to go to them because I think because she had to stand up and give a presentation, say thank you. So she just said no to everything. It was easier. And her story was, I'm too busy. I'm a single mom. I have kids and I have a very busy career. Why do I need to do all those things? Anyway, long story short, her sister challenges her, makes a bet with her. And so Shonda takes her up on it. And for the next year, she says yes to everything. So she did all those things that she had said no to. She gave the commencement address. She was on the Tonight Show among other shows,
Mhm.
and did a TED Talk. And what she found was that after 1 year of saying yes instead of no, that suddenly she had all this confidence that she didn't have before. She was no longer afraid of new situations, of stepping out of her comfort zone. It wasn't so scary. And she felt like her life had changed. She had grown. You might think, well, how's that possible? She was already so successful. I would believe her story. I don't have time for all that, but it's the kind of thing that we all do.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have time to work out. I don't have time to go to, but you know what, you can. There is time available.
Oh, yeah. And she was, as successful as she was very good at certain things, writing TV shows, directing TV shows, but maybe not so comfortable in front of an audience of people that she didn't know or where it was a large audience. So stepping out of that comfort zone expanded her whole horizon. It changed a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, and she says in the book, I'm really good at working alone. I'm really good at creating these characters and bringing them to life. That she recognized what she's really good at, and then just thought she'd avoid what she
Right.
Wasn't so sure about.
Just sort of let it go away, sweep that under the rug. I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So, great example of someone stuck in their comfort zone, getting out of it and making a big life change as
Yeah.
a result. And another example I have, there were two friends of mine. I worked with the woman, and her husband was I forget what he did exactly, but he worked in IT. He worked for an IT company in Northern Virginia, and he didn't like it, but he kept going there. He kept getting up and going to work, and then he would come home exhausted and in a bad mood. And so the person I worked with finally said, I'm making plenty of money. Why don't you just quit your job and find something you like to do? I'm tired of you being in such a bad mood all the time when you come home from work. Obviously, you don't like it. So he did, and he turned his hobby into his career, which was which was wine. He knew a lot about wine, and he became a wine distributor, and changed everything. Just need to take that step.
Yeah.
Get out of the comfort zone. So what's the
and that leads to
the
story
second reason, the story we tell.
Yep. So your story gets recycled. You keep your strong identity with the story. You need to detach and rewrite the story, which is the only way you can move forward. You want advice, but the answers are actually within you. And what a coach helps you do is ask the questions to get those answers out. So, the example of, I don't know what I want to do, becomes, the universe is full of unlimited, opportunities. Change your perspective, like we said with the blinders, and you start feeling yourself get a little bit more positive. You start changing your story and making the story more uplifting, because things are possible. You got to get that gremlin off your shoulder that says you can't do it, that says you can't change jobs, or you can't go for a promotion, or whatever rut it is that you're stuck in, whatever it happens to be in your life. If you start believing that you can do it, you will be able to do it. Because if you believe that you can't, you're powerless to do anything. And all you come up with are the excuses with the blinders on.
Right. And it's one of the first things I do with people when we start working together is we come up with a new story. Well, actually, you come up with a new story, but it has to be one that creates a different feeling for you, one of feeling more powerful, one of feeling like I can do this. It's like, and I think it's something that so many people say is they don't make a change because I don't know what to do.
Right.
But you have to do something. So, you got to start somewhere. And that usually the story is what's going to help propel you forward. The story can hold you back, and it can also move you forward.
Yeah, and lots of people struggle with our number 3, and it really can be self-sabotage. So you've got to look at your wants versus needs, the fear of moving forward or losing whatever it is that you're leaving behind, and you get stuck in those rituals. So let's say you want to lose weight, but you love to entertain. Well, yeah, there's a way of making that work. Stop partying, smoking or eating desserts, coffee, but what do I do with my social life? Now, that was probably pre-COVID with, does anybody have a social life right now? But hopefully that all gets back to normal. But anyway, there are ways of it's not always black and white. There's gray. There are graduations of things. So if you wanted to lose weight, but you like to entertain, so you have different kinds of foods or drinks or whatever. There are ways to do it. Maybe you don't do it as often. It isn't all black and white. You don't say, okay, well, now I can never entertain again. That's ridiculous. So when you're self-sabotaging, you are making it so that it's either this or that. And that's not reality. That's your story again. That is you falling back on your story.
Yeah, and it's not all that easy to look at yourself and say, oh, I'm self-sabotaging. You know,
It's
would
hard.
be, it would be nice if we could, but it's not that easy. You
And
know,
that's why you need us.
yeah, exactly, because we'll tell you. um, I had a client um, who I started working with. She had been laid off, and she didn't do anything for about 3 months. She just started, you know, enjoying unemployment. And then after about 3 months, I heard from her and she wanted to start coaching. And she said, I need a new job in 6 months. You've got to help me get, you know, get there, because then my money runs out. So, you know, which is always a good motivator.
Yeah.
So we started working together. And then I think it was, I don't think it was quite 6 months. You know, it was probably more like four, but it was getting close. I think we were about 4 or 5 months into this. And she had did not have one interview lined up. She really hadn't done, not much of anything had happened. And so finally, and she's getting a little nervous. And so she wants to know, you know, I got to get a job. I got to get a job. I need to start interviewing. So we went over everything, all the things, you know, all the action items, everything that was on there that needed to happen in order for her to start scheduling interviews. And she hadn't done a thing. She hadn't done one thing. And the, you know, and when I pointed out that she was self-sabotaging, the reason was because she had, well, there were two reasons really. But one, she had come out of a very toxic work environment where she had been there, stayed a long time because she wanted to make it work. And then she couldn't. So it felt like a failure. And she had a fear of getting back into another environment like that.
Mm.
Number two, she really enjoyed the tranquility of unemployment. You know, being able to get up in the morning, do what she wanted,
Sit on
read.
the couch with your cup of coffee, reading a book. You know?
Yeah, go to the grocery store when it's not crowded, go for long walks. You know, she was really loving life. But as soon as she recognized that she was sabotaging herself, it was like a light went off. You know, she was like, oh, I am, aren't I? And but didn't occur to her that, I mean, you know, that's the way our minds work. You know, you know, it's so easy for us to fool ourselves. But
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
as soon as she snapped into shape right after that and had interviews lined up within just a couple weeks. So I think she had her job off. In fact, she had a couple of job offers, and I think it was in about that 6 month time frame, maybe a little bit longer. But anyway, that's self-sabotage, and it can really get in the way of our progress. And then, of course, we have the fourth reason and the last reason why we get stuck and stay stuck is what I call TMI, too much information. It's information overload. It's very hard to be objective, and then and it's usually what happens is we just become too immersed in the situation or the possibility or the details, and you don't see, you know, you just don't see your way through it. It's like the forest, you know.
Yeah.
Too many trees in front of you to find the path.
Yeah, quite a few of my past clients have had the same sticking points. You take a job, let's say right out of school, because it was offered and you thought it sounded okay. And you know, there was nothing else available. You didn't really know what you wanted to do. And plus, hey, you were getting paid. It's always a good thing. But now you realize it wasn't quite right and have no idea what you want to do. What is the right role? So you start cruising open positions in the internet because the internet has everything. You can Google it. And then you get stuck. going wide open to anything and everything leads to getting nowhere. It's too much information. So if you don't know what you want to do and you just start looking at, all these jobs, you just companies and, well, I could be this, I could be a park ranger, I could be a waiter, I could be, God only knows. Unless you try and narrow the scope down, narrow that funnel to something that really means something to you, you're not going to get anywhere at all. It's too much. You can't
Right.
eat a whole elephant in one sitting. And I know that's an old adage and whatever, but it's true. If you chunk things out, if you break it apart and you start thinking of little steps, you actually do celebrate those little wins, and then you move to the next one and the next one and the next one. And then you actually get where you're going. But information overload, lack of foresight or objectivity, you're too stuck where you are to see any possibilities. You're going like this instead of like this, and it's very difficult. It's much easier when you have somebody who can ask you some questions and sort of kind of help guide you to a track.
Yeah, narrow it down. Yeah, and a lot of times people just, I've worked with a number of people who have never been in a situation where they've had to look for a job before.
Right.
And suddenly, after working for 30 years, they're in a situation, they're forced to have to go out and find a job. How do you do that now?
They don't know where to start.
Right. Yeah. So, like you were saying, Terry, when you go to the internet and you type in, let's say, project manager, and then it's like, whoa, there are
1,000 pages come up.
Thousands. So, and it's, that in itself is overwhelming. And, so if you've never had to search for a job before on the internet, that can shut people down. That absolutely will. That's very, very, and it's a very real reason. I don't know if actually there's any story attached to that other than, what do I do?
Right.
with all this?
It does. It gets frustrating and overwhelming. And then if you let that frustration and overwhelmness, which is probably another made up word, if you let that get to you, you're done before you start.
Right.
So if that's as far as you got, then you're staying where you are and you're still miserable. And that's not helping anybody either.
No, not at all. So yeah, the key here again is just getting very, very clear on where you're going.
Yes.
It's when you're not clear, then, how do you even know if you found something that you want?
That might be right. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you know? Okay. Let's move on
to our favorite slide.
Yeah, let's get into the good stuff now. Like, we got all the preliminary information out of the way. So now what do we do? How do you actually make changes? So this, and the reason, Terry says it's our favorite slide. And of course, it's because, this fish is, he's taking a risk, which is what it's a good metaphor for anybody who really, when you leave your job, for a lot of people, that's taking a huge risk. That can be very, very difficult, especially if you've been there for a while and you know your job so well, the company, and then to leave that for uncharted territory, where like I used to always say, this is 1,000 years ago, but I don't even know where the pencil sharpener is or the bathroom. Like, that's the thing about changing a job. There's all these like little things that you have to relearn.
Yes. And they're scary. They are scary.
Very,
they're
very
uncomfortable.
Scary. Very scary. I mean, it's exciting at the same time.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be scary, but
all right, scary is the wrong word. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's really what's scary is making that decision.
Sure.
Once you make that decision, like with this fish, who knows? Maybe all these other fish will follow. But
and then he'd be in the same. You're right. And then he'd have to find another bowl.
You're right. And have to go back. So really, a lot of times it can feel like you are taking this leap. You're putting your trust in the universe and, hoping for the best, because you really don't know. But you can, if you do all your research, all your, get all your ducks in a row, then you should feel much better about it.
And if you do that, it's an informed decision.
Yeah,
You do the best with the information that you have at the time. That's all you can do.
right. And of course, there's so many ways of going about doing that. So many ways.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, of course, is when you get to the interview and asking the right questions so that you can find out if this is the right opportunity for you. So anyway, this fish has gone from inaction to action, and that's what we want to help you do.
Correct. So the formula for change, it's the desire plus an action equals change. And it's in an internal thing as well as external. So you've got to be clear on your goal. You have to stay positive, make the decision and say yes to yourself in order to move forward. And then you actually take the action. You follow through each step at a time to the next step. So, and the steps can be baby steps. And any action is better than no action, because no action means you're stuck, which is what we said before. Back to, wanting to lose weight, but want to entertain. So maybe you join a gym and actually go to the gym, because many people join gyms, pay the money, and then never get around to it. So you're taking an action and then there's no follow through, which means you're still stuck. So you're looking for a job. Maybe the first action is to update your resume. That's taking the first step. And kudos, as we said before, for clicking on our site. That's a great action step because we're helping you right now.
And you know what I like about this woman who's taking this leap to the new job? She's got her briefcase there. I guess that's a briefcase. Maybe it's
I think so.
But I'm going to call it a briefcase because I have a briefcase analogy or metaphor that I like to use.
Yep.
Where you are, when you leave a job, your briefcase is really like the collector of all the skills, all the accomplishments, everything you've learned on your last job. And when you move on to the next job, you pack all that up, you put it in your briefcase, and you leave. And the more you add to your briefcase, the more unique you become. And so when you leave your job, like this woman is doing, she's bringing all these unique skills and talents and accomplishments that really set her apart. And that's
she's taking her tool belt with her.
Yeah, and that's another thing that's so that helps with clarity too, because
absolutely,
you when you're fully aware of all the skills and talents that are marketable and you like and you enjoy that you have right now in your tool belt, it's an easier step to make to move on to the next job, where you'll be able to not only to unpack your briefcase and quickly begin including everything that you have become up to this point. You bring that to your next job, but then you continue to grow and add to your briefcase. So it's all I think it's an exciting metaphor, but it's so true. It's so very true.
So this is one of the models that we were talking about. And after this model, we'll go into the 7 steps to action. But the pain gain model, it's a good way to understand the pain you get by doing nothing versus the pain you get by moving forward. There's always a cost and benefit for staying stuck as well as moving forward. And if you're honest with yourself and really think about what it's costing you to stay stuck, you'll realize that there's more pain and less gain with staying where you are than moving into the next, whatever that next happens to be. whether it's a job, a new house, whatever you were being stuck about. Staying stuck, there's usually more pain and less gain than moving forward.
So what somebody would do with this is, could you just walk us through how they would complete something like this? Like in the first,
Sure.
what is the pain
So,
cost?
right. So let's say when I was at McCormick, I knew the last year that I was there, I should have left 8 or 9 months before I actually did. And I was miserable. I was totally stuck. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. So if I had actually met a coach and done this when I finally did, now I'm a coach and I've been one for 6 years. But if I had written it down, my current situation would have been, I'm working in IT at McCormick, and the pain is I'm not, let's say, not valued, or I've had 3 different managers in 3 different VPs in 6 months, and they kept doing reorgs. What was the gain? To me, there wasn't any. I was not happy. There was nothing that I could gain there. I wasn't going to move positions, so there was really very little benefit for me staying, because there just wasn't anything in it for me any longer. So the future would have been coming up with something I wanted to do. So when I decided to become a coach, it was very scary to me. My future would have been, I want to become a coach. All right, so what's the pain? Well, it's going to cost me $10,000. I will be taking classes for 6 months, but what's the gain? I think I'm really going to like it. Or I'm doing one of the skills that I loved when I left IT, or was thinking about leaving IT. The skills were coaching and mentoring my people from around the world, which is why I went into coaching. I was very good at it and I really liked it. So that would have been my gain for my future. So when you look at the pain of staying and no gain, yes, it's going to cost me some money and time, but the gain was doing something that I truly realized I love. I thought I would love. And sometimes you don't know for sure. So it's what you think the future gain is going to be, because nobody knows what the future is. Well, 6 years on, guess what? I'm still doing it. But I took the time to really think through what was staying costing me. And it was costing me a lot. I was coming home miserable. Sunday nights, I hated thinking that I was going to go to work on Monday morning. That's a horrible way to live.
Yeah, I know. I've been there on that Sunday night.
Yeah.
Roller coaster.
Yes, not fun at all. So that's what you would do.
Yeah, this is a great model then for anybody who is not sure if they're, like, for example, you're in a job that you recognize. I mean, I don't think anybody is really ever unsure about whether they like their job or not.
Right.
But it can
so that part, the current part, is usually pretty easy if you're honest with yourself.
Right. But
the future is the one that's a little difficult.
But that gain, number 2, how do you benefit from the current situation? And then, you would cut if there's nothing, like.
Right. And if I have to be true, I mean, I made great money. So the gain was keeping my current salary, but at what cost?
Right.
So we are looking at the gain, the cost of staying just for money, when the pain was, I hated it.
Yeah.
At some point, the money isn't worth it.
Right. Yeah. And that's very common.
Absolutely.
That's very common for people to, they hate their job, but the money, keeps them.
Well, and Tom, I had a client that was so miserable, but liked their title, and was considering going to a lesser job at another company to get out of the organization that they were in that was very toxic. But was so, this is ego talking, where they're saying, well, how do I tell somebody that I'm going from a VP to this? I said, do you really care? Why do you care what somebody thinks if you like the job if the new job makes you happy?
Right.
And it was like this epiphany. People get stuck for all kinds of
Titles
reasons.
are,
And ego is a very large one here and there.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, this looks like it would be a fantastic exercise for anybody who is just, is doing soul searching.
Yep.
It's like, I can see the benefit, the value of it really helping you to recognize what you want to do.
Yep. And this in combination with the next slide is great for
Yeah.
people to work on.
Okay. So the 7 steps to action. These 7 steps should help you. I mean, really, the outcome is based on what action are you going to take. So this is really designed as just a logical flow to help you get from point A to point B. So number 1, what is the desired outcome, or what do you want to happen? So, okay, I don't like my job. I want to like my job. So I probably need a new job. What will having that do for you? Well, it will help me to improve my relationships. I've been so miserable at work that it's been affecting my health, and it's been affecting my personal life. And how will you know when you're getting the results you want? Well, I'll be able to sleep. I'll feel more relaxed during the day. I'll be able to enjoy. I'll have energy when I go home at night. I'll just feel like I'm there for other people in my life.
Right. Like you can leave work at work and walk in the door and be home.
Yeah. And be in a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
So what is stopping you from following through on this right now? Well, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to take that first step. So what needs to change? Well, I guess I need to figure it out. I need to figure out what I need to do. Maybe I need to get a new job, obviously. So I need to figure out how to make that happen. And how do you know this is what needs to happen? Well, okay, because now that I've said that I need a new job, I can feel, I feel differently. I feel like some sense of freedom or being liberated from this environment I'm in. I can feel it. So I know it's there. I know what's out there. So based on these insights, what actions are you going to take, and by when? I am going to update my resume, and I'm going to make a few phone calls and set up some informational interviews and start networking. So that's just an example of how you could work with this, but you can apply that to anything. You can apply that to, I'm overweight. I want to lose weight. So, what needs to change? Well, we all know what needs to change. I need to stop eating so much, or I need to, start moving more. I need to stop snacking, start eating healthy snacks, whatever. It's up to you. And I think we all pretty much know what needs to change. It's just doing it. But I'll tell you, when this helps you to get clear on what action you need to take, but if you really want to take it a notch up and have it make a greater impact, then print this out and give it to somebody and have them ask you these questions, and while you answer them, and give it to somebody who's good, like they're genuinely interested, they're good listeners, they're curious, and they will, and that if they can, if the relationship you have with them is such, ask them to hold you accountable so that you do this. You get your resume updated and you set up a couple of informational interviews within the next week.
Yeah, having an accountability partner is huge, because you're taking action steps with due dates, and somebody is actually following up, or they're going to follow up. So it makes you more apt to do what you say. It's the walking the talk. Do what you say what you do.
Yeah, it does. I mean, it really helps. So that accountability partner, and I guess it's because we don't want to have to go back and say, I didn't do it.
The dog ate my homework.
I
Yeah, I don't think
failed.
so.
I'm so sorry. Um, you know, but so it really does help. And that's another thing that coaching is good for, because we do hold you accountable. So what's possible here?
Yeah, I mean, so find out what you're truly capable of. Discover your powerful self. Like Shonda Rhimes, if you're a no person, say yes and see what happens. You need to discover the best part of you. What other talents you have, and what do they translate into a job or a goal?
Yeah, and so all you need to do is, obviously get unstuck by taking action, some sort of action, and then you're opening up new doors. The energy shifts as soon as you do that, and you're able to, you start moving forward. One brief example I'll give before we sign off here is, this was an example from coaching school. And this was one of the trainers had a client who he challenged. This person was looking for a new job, but didn't want to ask anybody for a new job. Had a very difficult time looking for a new job. And one of the challenges was, you need to expand your network. I want you to talk to 3 people today, and strangers, new people, total strangers. So it was terrifying for his client. But what she did was, on the subway, she approached somebody. And I don't remember the outcome, but just the fact of having that conversation was pivotal. It was life-changing. There was a positive outcome. I just don't remember what it was. But that was an example of how powerful taking those action steps can be.
Oh yeah, I had a client who was very, very artistic, creative, photography, making clothes, and but really almost painfully shy and self-conscious, and very little self-confidence. Very good at what he did, but needed a little push to get outside of himself. And I told him, next time you go into stores and you're in a line waiting to check out or whatever, I want you to talk to somebody in front of you or behind you every time you're in line. You are creative. You've got an eye for stuff. I want you to see somebody and like their hat. I want you to like their shirt. Ask them about the food on their thing. I want you to turn around or talk to somebody and say, I love the shirt. It looks great on you, and see what happens. And I said, you have to do that. I want you to do it every single day for like a couple weeks. And he had a great time with it. Once he got outside of himself to actually open his mouth, then it was like he's looking for people that had something interesting that he could relate to. And it becomes a game, but it's a helpful game.
And makes standing in line a little more enjoyable.
Yeah, why not?
So, you take action, all kinds of things are possible. You uncover hidden talents.
Yes.
You can discover your passion. You move past fears.
You get out of your way.
Yeah, you're doing that thing that thing that has been, holding you back because you're afraid to do is very healing. And of course, it builds confidence. So
thank you for joining us and getting the sticky stuff off your shoes and moving forward. If you want more help, check out our other workshops. We've got stuff on interviews and resumes and all kinds of other stuff. We'd love to have you on the other side. And I'm Terry. This is Tom. And thank you for being with us.
Yes, thanks for attending.